If you're a diehard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. The Cleveland Browns once again find themselves caught in a storm of numbers, narratives, and never-ending debates after what looked like a promising, yet ultimately frustrating Week 1 performance. Fans who watched closely saw a team that had flashes of dominance, particularly on defense, but the record books will simply stamp the moment as another loss to open a season. That's the cruel reality of professional football. No matter how well you played for stretches, no matter how many things you did right, if the scoreboard says you lost, that's the only memory that truly sticks. And for Cleveland, that memory is starting to feel like a curse that refuses to break. Since their return to the league in 1999, the Browns have stumbled out of the gate a staggering 23 times in 26 openers, a statistic that weighs heavily on the psyche of both the fan base and the organization. The excitement of the offseason, the hope that builds during training camp, the optimism of Week 1. It all seems to collapse almost immediately, leaving behind a sense of déjà vu that haunts every September. And yet, if you peel back the surface, this game told a more complicated story than just another tally in the loss column. Looking deeper into the opener, what truly stands out is that this wasn't a case of the Browns being completely outclassed or outcoached. Far from it. In fact, they played physical, disciplined football on the defensive side, especially after halftime, forcing their opponent into uncomfortable situations and limiting big plays. Joe Flacco, stepping into a role that many doubted he could still handle at this stage of his career, looked sharp and composed, as if the long layoff since his previous stint with the team hadn't dulled his instincts at all. He delivered the ball with confidence, made quick decisions, and showed poise in the pocket, which should give fans some hope moving forward. But for every positive, there were negatives that ultimately proved fatal. The turnovers, which have always been the silent killers in Browns games over the years, showed up once again. The painful part? Neither mistake was on Flacco. Both passes hit the receivers right in the hands, only to bounce away into the arms of defenders, snuffing out promising drives and gifting momentum to the other side. It's those kinds of mistakes that separate winning teams from losing ones, the razor-thin margins that make the difference between celebration and heartbreak. And yet, turnovers weren't the only ghosts haunting Cleveland in this opener. Special teams, once again, became the storyline nobody wanted to discuss but couldn't ignore. The missed kicks by Andre Szmyt, a name that now echoes uncomfortably among Browns fans, served as a grim reminder of the team's long and tortured history with the kicking position. Everyone remembers Cade York's inconsistencies, Dustin Hopkins' untimely misses, and the revolving door of kickers who came before them. And here we are again, staring down the possibility of repeating that same cycle. It's maddening because the margin of defeat was a single point. Just one. In a game where every yard was fought for, every tackle carried weight, and every possession was critical, it all came down to two kicks that sailed wide. Those missed opportunities carry the kind of sting that lingers all week long, especially when fans think about what could have been. It isn't just about missing 3 points on the scoreboard. It's about momentum, confidence, and trust in a player to deliver under pressure. When a kicker falters, it feels like the entire house of cards begins to shake. The broader question now hovering over Berea is whether the Browns are willing to let history repeat itself yet again at that position. Do they double down on Szmyt, hoping he figures it out quickly, or do they make a decisive move and cut ties before the problem spirals into something catastrophic for the season? Because make no mistake, special teams aren't just a footnote, they're a backbone. Championship teams don't just rely on strong defenses or quarterbacks who can light up the stat sheet. They rely on every unit to execute, including the guy whose job is to make sure a 35-yard attempt splits the uprights when it matters most. Browns fans have seen too many seasons derailed by this seemingly small but incredibly vital detail, and patience is wearing thin. The comparison to Cade York and Hopkins isn't just a cheap shot. It's a flashing red warning sign that says, not again. This team can't afford to let that issue fester. Not when the defense is already showing playoff-caliber promise and the quarterback play looks steadier than expected. The front office has to weigh loyalty and development against urgency and results. And in the NFL, results usually win that debate. Still, It would be unfair to frame this opener purely as another Browns disaster, because the team did plenty to inspire cautious optimism. The defense, in particular, deserves its flowers. In the second half, they played with the kind of energy and intelligence that makes you believe this unit could carry the team through tough stretches of the season. Pressure off the edge, tight coverage downfield, gang tackling that kept explosive plays to a minimum, all of it was there. And for fans who have endured years of porous defenses that couldn't stop anyone, seeing a group that looks fast, disciplined, and aggressive is a refreshing change. That's the kind of identity that can give a team a fighting chance every single week, regardless of what happens on offense or special teams. And while Flacco's numbers won't jump off the stat sheet as elite, the eye test suggested a quarterback who still has command of an offense, who can deliver the ball in rhythm, and who doesn't seem overwhelmed by the pressure of replacing injured or underperforming options. In other words, the foundation is there for this team to be competitive. They just need to clean up the details. Of course, this being Cleveland, optimism is always tempered by caution, because fans know too well how quickly things can unravel. The chatter on social media, the commentary from local reporters, the frustrated calls on sports radio, all of it reflects a fan base that is torn between believing this could finally be a year of progress and fearing that it's just the same old story with a slightly different script. That's the burden of history, the weight of 2 decades of inconsistency. But it's also what makes this storyline so compelling. When you've lost 23 out of 26 season openers since 1999, every stumble feels like evidence of a curse, while every glimpse of progress feels like a potential breakthrough waiting to happen. The Browns live in that tension, a constant tug-of-war between hope and heartbreak. And this opener, with its mixture of defensive brilliance, offensive competence, and special teams failure, encapsulated that perfectly. The win-loss column says 0-1, and that's the bottom line. But the truth of the matter is far more nuanced, far more layered, and far more emotional than just a number on a page. Now the Browns turn the page to Week 2, and the storyline becomes whether they can put the heartbreak behind them and build on the positives. The locker room knows what's at stake, the coaching staff knows where the corrections must be made, and the front office knows decisions are looming, particularly with the kicker. One loss doesn't define a season, and this roster still has the talent to make noise in the AFC if things click. But the challenge is mental as much as it is physical. Can they shake off the déjà vu of yet another Week 1 defeat? Can they prove that the defense we saw is the real deal and not just a one-week flash? Can Flacco continue to steady the offense while limiting mistakes that weren't even on him in the first place? And most importantly, can the Browns avoid letting special teams issues poison another season? These are the questions that linger in the air like smoke, fueling rumors, debates, and speculation across the fan base. For now, the Browns sit at 0-1, a familiar place. But if they can learn from this heartbreak and turn it into fire, maybe, just maybe, this time the story ends differently. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. The NFL world is buzzing with whispers and murmurs after the latest statement from Chiefs tight end Travis KELCE, who reportedly delivered a sharp message regarding SHEDEUR, the young quarterback making waves with the Browns. Sources close to the team suggest that KELCE's words were more than a simple comment. They were a pointed critique that has set off a chain reaction within both locker rooms. The chatter among analysts and fans alike paints a picture of tension escalating beyond the field, with insiders hinting that KELCE's remarks might not only affect SHEDEUR's confidence, but also influence the Browns' internal dynamics. There are reports that the comment sparked heated debates during team meetings, where coaches had to intervene to calm players who were visibly frustrated. The tone of KELCE's statement, though not fully disclosed, seems to carry an edge that some interpret as a warning to SHEDEUR about performance expectations, preparation, or handling pressure in high-stakes games. Observers suggest this could have long-term implications for both team strategies, as rivalries within the AFC intensify and players reassess their mental approaches heading into the next rounds. While the exact wording remains under wraps, the ripple effects are evident, and the NFL rumor mill is running at full throttle, dissecting every nuance of this emerging story. Fans on social media are dissecting clips, comments, and insider tidbits, creating a feverish environment where every gesture and reaction is scrutinized. Analysts are theorizing potential fallout scenarios, from shifts in team chemistry to changes in play calling, suggesting that KELCE's words may have struck at the very heart of competitive pride and locker room hierarchy, making this more than just a passing headline. Speculation around the Browns' reaction has taken center stage, with insiders suggesting that the locker room is in an unusual state of unrest. Multiple sources imply that internal criticisms have surfaced, some directed at SHEDEUR for perceived inconsistencies, and others toward teammates who may not be providing enough support or cohesion on the field. The friction appears to be both strategic and personal, with coaches reportedly stepping in to mediate tensions before they escalate further. The story, fueled by a combination of social media leaks, sideline observations, and cryptic player statements, paints a vivid image of a team grappling with high expectations while navigating internal discord. Observers note that the timing of KELCE's statement could not have been more impactful, coinciding with a critical phase in the NFL season where every game carries significant playoff implications. Analysts are debating whether this public critique might motivate SHEDEUR to elevate his performance or, conversely, if it could sow doubt and hesitation. The narrative is rich with tension as rival teams, fans, and commentators dissect every play and every interaction, searching for signs of cracks or breakthroughs. Discussions surrounding accountability, leadership, and the psychological resilience of young quarterbacks are dominating sports panels, highlighting the broader implications of this incident. The Browns' handling of the situation is being closely watched, with insiders suggesting that how they respond publicly and privately could define the team's cohesion moving forward. Every gesture, from locker room interactions to practice sessions, is being interpreted through the lens of this controversy, making the unfolding story one of the most scrutinized in recent NFL memory. KELCE's reputation as both a formidable athlete and a vocal figure in the league adds layers to this unfolding drama. Sources indicate that his message was delivered in a way that left little room for misinterpretation, carrying an authority that stems from his status and experience. Analysts point out that KELCE has often been candid about performance standards, and his willingness to speak out may be part of a broader philosophy aimed at pushing the league's young stars toward excellence. However, insiders hint that this particular comment might have crossed into territory that touches on team pride and personal confidence, provoking reactions that extend beyond typical competitive banter. The narrative surrounding SHEDEUR Sanders now includes speculation about his response both on and off the field, with teammates reportedly rallying around him while also privately expressing concerns about the scrutiny and pressures that accompany being in the NFL spotlight. This multi-layered tension offers fertile ground for media coverage, social commentary, and fan debate as audiences dissect KELCE's intention, the Browns' reaction, and the potential ripple effects across the league. Experts are analyzing psychological aspects, suggesting that such public commentary from a rival could serve as a catalyst for either heightened focus or distraction, depending on how the young quarterback internalizes the message. Fans have been particularly active online, debating loyalty, leadership, and the dynamics of mentorship versus criticism, creating a vibrant ecosystem of opinion that reflects the broader cultural obsession with NFL narratives. The interplay between seasoned veterans and emerging talents now occupies a central stage, with KELCE's statement acting as the spark for conversations about professionalism, accountability, and the sometimes brutal reality of elite sports performance. This incident is already being framed as a potential turning point, shaping perceptions of leadership, resilience, and competitive strategy within one of the NFL's most closely watched rivalries. Within the Browns organization, the buzz is reportedly palpable, as if a simmering pot of tension has suddenly boiled over. Players, coaches, and staff are navigating a landscape that combines performance pressure with interpersonal scrutiny, amplified by KELCE's high-profile comments. Rumors indicate that internal meetings have become arenas for both airing grievances and strategizing how to maintain focus despite external commentary. Analysts speculate that these internal debates could influence everything from game day decisions to broader team philosophy, particularly as coaches weigh the balance between fostering confidence and holding players accountable. Observers have suggested that SHEDEUR Sanders, already under intense media scrutiny, might now face amplified expectations to demonstrate leadership, composure, and adaptability. This creates a layered tension where personal development intersects with team cohesion, and every practice, every play, and every off-field decision becomes a potential flashpoint for further commentary or speculation. Social media has erupted with fan theories, memes, and breakdowns of past games, magnifying the perceived drama while also providing a platform for public opinion to shape the narrative. Insiders note that KELCE's statement, while brief, has triggered a domino effect that touches multiple aspects of team dynamics, including trust, morale, and long-term strategy. Analysts are dissecting how rivalries, mentorship, and public critique intersect in professional sports, illustrating the complex ecosystem that surrounds elite athletes. Meanwhile, speculation persists about whether this tension could eventually translate into performance breakthroughs, as players respond to criticism by doubling down on effort, refining technique, or embracing a renewed sense of competitive urgency. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!